Welcome to the 24th floor. I'm Richard Denson, running solo today, at least for now. The Grizzlies are playing Summer League basketball right now, but the biggest question surrounding this team has nothing to do with wins and losses in July. It's figuring out exactly what this roster is going to look like when the real season begins. Memphis has added D'Angelo Russell, Isaiah Stewart, and A.J. Johnson. And doing so, they've continued stacking future draft picks. And at the same time, the number 3 pick, Cam Boozer, already giving Grizzlies fans plenty to talk about in Summer League. So what exactly are the Grizzlies doing? Well, joining us to help make sense of it all is the doctor of physical therapy. He's Bluff City Media's Rusty Whitten. Rusty, welcome back to the 24th floor. I got to ask, do you have any idea what Zach Kleiman is doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. He went into that locker room at the end of last season, went through those exit interviews and said, "We soft. And we ain't going to be soft anymore." And went and got some dudes that are tough, that are hard-nosed basketball players to elevate this floor. And, I mean, listen, outside of Boozer, the pick for Boozer, none of them are super sexy, like going to be these fun, highlight reel type players like we're used to. But we got guys that are winners, that are competitors, and they ain't going to get punked by Draymond anymore.
Absolutely. Hey, when they got Isaiah Stewart, the first thing I said was they got a heavyweight boxer, man, because they got somebody, because that dude, every time I see him, he's always pointing at somebody. He's already to throw hands, from the LeBron situation to the Miles Turner situation. And then it's like, I didn't even know he was 6'9", because he plays way bigger than what he is. But let's start. Let's start with a trade that just happened on Tuesday night, D'Angelo Russell. Now, obviously, let's just keep it a buck. D'Lo is probably not going to stay on this team. But let's walk down the world if there was even a chance he does. Now you have Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., D'Lo, and all these young guards the front office says it wants to evaluate. So when you see that move and D'Lo added to the room, do you view him as somebody who could be here as a veteran presence, or do you think this is another move coming?
I think there's another move coming. I think it's a $6 million deal. It's super easy to buy out. We're building a culture here. We're building guys who want to be here, who are going to be here for the long term. So he doesn't fit the timeline. I don't necessarily think he fits the culture. He's by and large been a decent teammate, but there's, been some issues along the way. And Zach Kleiman is looking to rid the team of all of that. He did post on a comment on Instagram, I believe, where he said, "Wherever you send me, I'm still going to show you that I've got it or I'm cold." And I think, that's a good attitude to have, but I don't think you'll get to show that in Memphis. I think we've got something brewing because, Chef Kleiman's in the kitchen, man, cooking with those assets and those picks that we're getting. I think we've got more moves coming. Obviously, we're at 21 players. You can only carry 15 into the season. And I think D'Lo will be one of those that is either just flat out bought out or he's moved in another trade.
I'm glad you hit the nail on the head with 21 players. I was looking at it, and I was like, have the rookies even signed yet? Because how much of this do you think is Memphis just collecting assets to almost where you can call Zach Kleiman a hoarder? Because it kind of reminds me a little bit of OKC when they were doing it in the midst of their rebuild. They were getting all the second-round picks, all the first-round picks. They were getting that Poku guy. They were getting these no-name guys. And I think Memphis, you kind of see a similarity. But is it them just collecting assets versus actually building the roster we'll see on opening night?
Yeah, I think it's more assets. The recipe is there. It clearly worked for OKC. Zach Kleiman has a lot of faults, but one of them is not coachable. He has learned from his mistakes. He has saw where he could have capitalized on some of the momentum we had in 21 and 22. Probably could have built around Ja a little better. And he catches a lot of flack online. But I think what you're seeing is a lot of growth from him. He realizes we need a certain type of player here in Memphis, so he went and got those dudes. He has got an absolute war chest of picks now to where I don't know that maybe this summer is the summer, Richard, where he goes and gets that guy that's going to help take us over the hump. I mean, there's a lot of dudes out there. You could go get some bad contracts like a De'Aaron Fox, Trey Murphy, DeJounte Murray, something like that. But I think if he's building this arsenal, I think we could look to next summer as when he starts trying to accelerate this rebuild to see, year one of Boozer, what do we have? Let him grow. What does he need in the NBA? And then next summer, we take this war chest and just go get whoever we want.
So last week when we taped the episode, it was right before the Santi Aldama trade. Now that trade has happened. You get a guy like A.J. Johnson, once again, another young player. First of all, what was kind of your take on that? Because I saw Santi Aldama as a guy who probably could have still been on the squad as like backing up Cam Boozer and being like a kind of 6-man of the year candidate, which has kind of been his best role. So I was a little surprised by the trade. And then once again, like you said, bringing back picks 2030, I think it is, top 20 protected from Golden State. You're hoping that Golden State is still contending, that they won't be a lottery team. Who knows? With the Steph Curry era, it could be over. But when you make a move like that and you get that pick, and then A.J. Johnson, once again, is this a guy that you think that the Grizzlies might take a flyer on? But then that's throwing another guard into a very cramped guard room.
No, I think AJ is going to be another cap casualty. Why not keep him this summer, let him get some run? Maybe he pops off the page, shows you something, but I'm not expecting a whole lot out of a career 24% three-point shooter, a guy that has to have the ball in his hands to do things. A guy, he just hadn't impressed me a whole lot. So I don't think that he's going to be here. He's so skinny, man, and we're looking for dogs. That's what Zach Kleiman has been famous for saying, a dog identification program, right? And so I think we're going to go use him maybe, or at least use those picks to go get somebody. And a real quick note about Santi, like, I never was a big Santi hater like there was out there. Listen, he couldn't defend. He would channel his inner matador, his Spanish heritage there on defense. There's no doubt about that. But what I got out of Santi, if you had your expectations right, I got exactly what I wanted. He was a 3 and rebound, stretch 5, 4, somewhere right in there, who has the capability of being a 6-man of the year type candidate. And so Dallas got him one. I thought he'd stick around because he fit Tomas's system so well. And plus he was just a real locker room guy. Like, that's been kind of the word out of Memphis, is like the locker room is kind of grieving or hurting without Santi, because he was like Dez's best friend. He was Steve-O's best friend. Like, he's just a locker room dude. And so I wish nothing but the best for Santi, except for 4 games a year. And I think we're just building to that arsenal to go get guys that we want.
And now I guess when you look at that front court, I mean, obviously Boozer, we're chalking him in as the 4, the starting 4, Edie at the 5, and now you look at your bigs off the bench. I guess that really shows that they want Jeremy Grant to essentially be that 4-man off the bench. I know Jeremy Grant, you can play him at the 3 and some stuff. I always looked at, he's been really a swing man in his career, kind of playing the 3-4, also sometimes play a small ball 5. So that's why I kind of thought Santi there was a spot for him on this roster, but I guess this move really shows, one, in my opinion now, I've kind of had a debate with our guy Evan about it. I think Chris Murray is a guy who will be able to show some stuff in Memphis playing the 4. Our guy Evan kind of sees him at the 3, but maybe I'm just looking at him kind of as like a Walmart version of his brother. And I'm not trying to be offensive with that and that, but it's just like his brother plays the 4 and it's kind of like a tweener. So I look at him as playing the 4. He's obviously not as skilled, and I'm sure the Grizzlies would have loved to got Keegan Murray. But I mean, I guess now we look at Boozer, Edie, Grant, Chris Murray, Isaiah Stewart is our front court. How do we kind of feel about that going into? Or do we feel like, okay, all these deals they done made, maybe they should go try to jump in and try to get a Sabonis, a guy who may become available?
Yeah, I like our front court as it is, truly. Like, for what the season that we're in, I like where we're at. Sabonis is a guy that I've coveted, but like, he's kind of we've got like maybe like a super Sabonis in Boozer, where he's more athletic, but he rebounds at a high level. He sees the floor really well. I think there's a world where Jeremy Grant could be our starting 3. He's been kind of that 4-3, 3-4 throughout his career, and give us some size of Grant, Boozer, Edie at the 3, 4, 5. I don't hate that, honestly. And then Quentin Post in the mix. I think that's if that's your 3rd center. Obviously, you got Zach Edey, who's a star. He's a cornerstone of this franchise, and he's going to be fine for opening night. The doctor has spoken. He's going to play opening night. He's going to be your starting 5 on opening night in October. You got Beef Stew coming off the rim, who at 6'9", like you said earlier, is an elite rim-protecting big and rebounds like his hair's on fire, and as we all know, is about that life, so we're not going to get punked anymore. And then Quentin Post is interesting because, like, he's a 3-and-D big who can stretch the floor, create space for Boozer, and create space for a Ty Jerome Slash, Cedric Howard getting to the rim, GG getting to the rim. I really like that pickup, and only for a $9 million guaranteed contract with a team and a player option after. Like, that's a win, man. Again, this is a massive win for a backup center in a world where there's not that many really, really good ones. And I think Post is a good 3rd option. And then I kind of, not to jump ahead too much, but in Summer League, I kind of like what I've seen out of Carson Cooper, the big from Michigan State. He's athletic. He can protect the rim. He's a lob threat. Listen, he's a two-way guy, but he gives us depth in the front court. Richard, this might be the deepest front court we've ever had, and if so, if not in a long time, we'll say, because you've got versatility, you've got size, and you got a lot of guys that fit a bunch of different roles. I'm excited to see what it looks like this fall.
I'm glad you said something about Carson Cooper because he's somebody who's really been impressing me that I like him a little bit more than Lawson Lovering, a guy who's actually seen minutes for the Grizzlies. And I forgot about Quentin Post because it was just as we're taping this, the Warriors has announced that they're not going to match Quentin Post and that he will indeed be a member of the Memphis Grizzlies. And it just seems like the reaction online has been kind of polarizing. Some people say it's an overpay, but a lot of people aren't really reading the devil in the details, which is only the first year is guaranteed. So if he ends up being a stinker, he can just let him go, you know? And then like you express faith in Zach Edey, I'm going to hold that a little bit because the man hasn't proven that he can be healthy. It's almost like he's nowhere near as good as Joel Embiid, but it's almost like I'm getting Joel Embiid in vibes like this dude is never healthy. And that's the only reason, Mr. Doc, that's the only reason, Mr. Whitten, that I have not just got on the board and said, you know what, the Grizzlies need to push their chips in for Jalen Duren. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. If Edey cannot get healthy by the trade deadline, with everything, it seems is trouble in paradise with Mr. Duren over there in Detroit, where that brother might end up having to sign the qualifying offer. If he does do that, Memphis needs to be like my guy Ryan Coogler and get some of that. Bring Jalen Duren home. Bring the Memphis Tiger home.
Listen, I like Jalen Duren, and I'd be crazy if I said that we didn't push our chips in for him. I think he'd be perfect in the system, and perfect for the city. He's a Memphis guy, absolutely.
Yes.
But Zach Edey, it's not that he hasn't been healthy. It's that he wasn't healthy, so they decided while we got the hood up, let's go ahead and fix everything we need to fix. If it was the same recurring injury over and over again, multiple surgeries for the same injury, I'd be a bit more worried. I think that he's getting kind of a bad rap. We got armchair GMs online, hair on fire over a third center who's going to give you 15 to 18 minutes a night at most. I'm not worried about it. I'm a Zach Edey believer. I've seen the tape. I've seen enough. The only 10 games above 500 we had last year in what was a miserable season were the 10 games that Zach Edey played, and he dominated. I watched him do 32 and 17 to the Kings, to Sabonis and the Kings. And so, listen, man, again, Zach Kleiman is known for minute restrictions and rotation restrictions. So we know that especially early on, Zach Edey is not going to get a ton of run. They're going to let him kind of get his game legs underneath him. And so why not have a super deep, diverse backcourt behind him? And, Beef Stew's a perfect complement. Quentin Post is a perfect complement. Carson Cooper, great compliment. These guys are going to do things that Edey doesn't do and give Edey some rest to when he's out there, he can be the dominant big that he is.
All right, so we hope so, man. But let's kind of switch gears because we got to start speed it up. Let's get to Cam Boozer because through the 2 Summer League games I've watched, I think he's already shown us 2 different versions of his game. In the OKC game, he dominated inside, and then he goes 4 or 5 from 3 against Utah. So what stood out to you the most about Mr. Boozer?
His IQ is exactly as advertised. That's one of the smartest basketball players, most mature basketball players I've seen. And it's been a little frustrating because, a lot of people were comparing him to DP in that game against Utah. And listen, man, Darren Peterson might be the closest thing we've seen to Kobe Bryant in a long time. That dude is absolutely
I wish my co-host Ruben was here to hear that. I would be victory lapping that because I've been a DP guy.
Yeah, man. I love that. Listen, I was not going to be upset if we had gotten Darren Peterson. Nothing about that was going to upset me. But what I've seen from Boozer is just his maturity on the basketball court to be in the right place at the right time, to make the right read, to make the right finish, to do everything well has just been so impressive to me. He's gotten his seal in perfect position so many times, but these young guards might have missed him or didn't get him the ball. He could have had 30 points against Utah if they had just gotten him the ball, but they went away from him in Summer League. Cedric Coward clearly said, I'm going to be the man to put up the shots tonight, and I'm fine with that. But Boozer's processing is going to flourish in Tomas's system. We're building the right pieces around him with some floor spacers to let him do what he does. But it's never going to be the sexy stat sheet where he's going to be out there getting all the highlight dunks and plays. But it's going to be one of those guys where you think, oh, he's having a good night tonight. And you're going to look up and he's got 30 and 15 because he's just that efficient, that effective, and that much of just a high IQ player. Man, the sky's the limit with Cam Boozer.
So the thing about Summer League is I try not to overreact because of the competition, but I do pay attention to tendencies, and you hit all the nail on the head with Boozer. And I'm also really paying attention to how him and Cedric Coward play together, since those are going to be the two guys. So Rusty, last question I got to ask you before we got to wrap. When we sit here again closer to training camp, what's the one question about this Grizzlies roster you think still has to be answered?
I think we're still trying to figure out our wing situation. You know, I mentioned Jeremy Grant. Is it Gigi? Is Gigi still on the team? Is it Omax, Taylor Hendricks? Does Jalen Wells continue to start at the 3? Like, I think that's the moment. That's the fulcrum, right? Because we know our starting 5. We know our starting 4. Ced's going to be the 2. And then the point guard is probably going to be Ty Jerome, barring some kind of move. So we have got a plethora of wings to sort through. And I think it just depends on who has the best summer in camp. Gigi's been on social media putting in work in the gym. Jalen's putting in work in the gym. I've seen videos of him getting his shot up. Jeremy Grant's obviously got starting experience in this league. Maybe it's one of the young guys. What if Taylor Hendricks continues to show and pop? Yeah, he's more of a 4, but maybe he's the 4 and Boozer's the 3. I think the small 4 position to me is the most interesting thing going into fall camp. As who is going to be, who's like, it's wide open. Who's going to be the one to take the mantle and go snatch that job?
That's something that we'll have to continue to keep an eye on. Rusty, I always appreciate you joining us all the way from Nashville, my friend. Have a safe trip out there, and we'll see you when you come back.
Appreciate you, Richard. Always fun to be here, man. Talk soon.
Yes, sir. All right, coming up, you've heard his voice in some of the biggest anime series in the world. Adam MacArthur joins us to talk voice acting, anime's explosion into the mainstream, and his trip to Memphis this weekend. The 24th Floor is back after this.